Corporation.
Okay, so this is our company analysis for Skillsoft Corporation, Part 2. I'm Casey Pulsifer.
I'm Joey Marino.
I'm Aspen Dubuque.
And I'm Brendan Landy.
Nice. You're in charge this time. So, who are the firm's primary customers? Basically, Skillsoft's customers range from small to large corporations, as well as government organizations and educational organizations. Some examples are Manitoba, Hydro, AXA Financial, the U.S. Army, and the University of Florida. So how does a good or service benefit consumers? Basically, Skillsoft has a lot of services that benefit our customers. Some being that over 40% of Skillsoft's employees are actually dedicated to customer support. Skillsoft also really focuses on ensuring success in their learning programs for their customers. They really want to deliver their strategies as well as competence mapping and blending their learning designs with the technology. A benefit for custom e-learning solutions, competency mapping, and real-world business cases is that you can scale them to your needs. They offer flexible options in hosting, technology, maintenance, and learning levels. So basically, it's really beneficial just because Skillsoft makes it more personable, because each individual is different, especially with learning levels. And basically, they design it to align with your requirements and business goals. And then overall, it's just beneficial because they have effective content. And then, what do consumers like about the good or service? Basically, just because they have dedicated learning consultants. Skillsoft was among the first in the industry to be certified in e-learning methodologies. And again, they can just design their ideals to their programs, and altogether they offer over 100 years of combined experience. And they suggest relevant solutions to businesses. And then, again, with customization, and 90% of the customers of Skillsoft said they would repurchase or come back. And then overall, they like the exceptional service.
So now we look at the competitors of Skillsoft. One is Global Knowledge, NIIT, and then American Management. So first, they are in education and training services. That's our industry for these competitors and Skillsoft. So there's going to be a lot of similarities because they're in the same industry. So if we look first, the training services that they offer, management, IT, language, finance, business, safety, they're all very similar. They all have like very similar training services, and what they train is very similar because they are in the same industry. Another similarity is online training. They all use a form of ebooks, e-learning, and online teachers, online courses. They all have their own unique ways, but as a general, they are very similar in that sense. They all are established before the 2000s. I think one company as late as or as early as the 1980s, so they are a very established company. All four of these companies are, and they all trade globally, one way or another, to different countries across the globe. So now, even though they're in the same industry, they do all have differences between each other. First, we start with Skillsoft. They had the most sales, even though they are at a net loss. They do have the most sales compared to their competitors at $508.16 million as of 2014. They have the largest plant size and facility size at 68,755 square feet. Then next we have NIIT, who has the most amount of employees at 2,942 employees. And they also are a public company, the only public company out of all their competitors. And they had the least amount of sales at 56.25 million. So the amount of employees didn't make a difference for them because they still have less sales. Now we look at Global Knowledge, who is at 422 employees. They have the least amount of employees, and they also, even though they have similar training systems and training like business compliance and safety, their main focus is networking and telecommunications, which the other three competitors, that's not their main focus. So that was something different about them. And then American Management, which is the only nonprofit out of the four total companies, and they had the least amount of square footage for their facility size at 8,710 square feet.
Okay, so for the majority of this presentation, we talked about the similarities and differences between Skillsoft and their competitors, but now we want to focus more on how Skillsoft can sustain an advantage against their competitors. Excuse me, sorry. So the main thing that we focused on was the partnerships that Skillsoft has. Their technology partnerships are key assets to the company. So they have 4 different types of partnerships: IT, OLSA, which is Open Learning Services Architecture, LMS, which is Learning Management System, and Solution Partners. So for their IT partnerships, they co-develop training courseware with leaders in the IT software industry to maintain the accessibility. Their LMS partners, they have over 100 different LMS partners so that the software is available on their individual platforms and it is easily accessible through those different organizations. The OLSA partnerships encompass learning management systems, talent management systems, and a business analytics provider. These partnerships incorporate their own features to the program to integrate Skillsoft software as well as their own unique features to make the learning programs more unique to each individual learner. And then solution partners are strategic partnerships put in place by Skillsoft with the premier training providers to enhance the learning process and experience to prepare their learners more for on-the-job application. And this is what I wanted to talk about more in depth, was because 2 of their solution partnerships are with their competitors, Global Knowledge and American Management Association. So you can see that Skillsoft identifies where they don't have an advantage, so they then look for partnerships within other companies to put themselves ahead. So an advantage that the competitors have, we talked about like more for when they're obtaining new customers, when clients are looking on the website to see about the credibility of each of the competitors and Skillsoft in general, is that Global Knowledge and NIIT both have a comprehensive list of different awards that they have acquired, and one of the main ones was for Global Knowledge was EC Council Training Center of 2015, and they have acquired that throughout the years. And then NIIT acquired the 2015 Brandon Hall Gold in Best Advance in Customer Content. So that sets those competitors ahead of Skillsoft, because that's what you want to see, is that they are nationally accredited and well known by other establishments, and that they are recognized for good things.
So why do we want to choose Skillsoft in the long run? Well, Skillsoft was actually granted the award of Best of E-Learning by eLearning Magazine, which is actually a pretty big magazine if you're into e-learning. They were granted this for a few reasons, some of which include Best Leadership Content, as well as Best IT Training and Best Outsourced Learning Services. With that said, prices do mean everything when you're going to shop for e-learning software. I couldn't find a lot of information on Skillsoft, however, I did find some on the competitors where it was 20-day trial for $5,000. That's rather cheap for 20 days. Granted, it's probably not going to be the best type of training you'll get, which I'm assuming just by looking at some of the things that Skillsoft does offer, Skillsoft does have a bit higher of a price, also assuming this by their revenue. So granted, with their outstanding awards from eLearning Magazine as well from other organizations, a little bit higher price does make a difference in the long run and is definitely worth it in the long run for a better education.
So in conclusion, after looking at all of these competitors with Skillsoft, I think that even though they all have like their own unique forms of training and the way they use their services, I think that Skillsoft still rises above them all, regardless of their net loss or anything. I feel like they, with their 24/7 books and their ways of e-learning, and like we just mentioned, their awards that they've won, I think that they're still top of their competitors. Any questions or comments for anyone?